All right, let's do this thing. We are way behind schedule. So I got to get myself organized here. What I can't find, which is really weird, is my other pair of glasses. So I've been looking for them. And yeah, I was just throwing on some socks. My feet are cold. So, hello, Pickle Boy. Can you hear me okay? This thing acts like I have good sound. I hope so. Where is my sound monitor? Don't see it. Andy, you're second. You were close. I don't see the sound monitor. Let's try output. Video audio monitor. I want that on. Where are you? I don't see it. It's hiding. Hey, Joey. Nice meeting you too. So I need someone to tell me the audio works. I'm assuming it does. No one has said it hasn't. Okay, there was an answer from Pickle Boy. I appreciate that. Why can't I see my audio monitor? Headphones off. Weird. I think, oh, I see they changed that. So, well, doesn't matter. You can hear me. I just usually have a little thing on my screen that shows me microphones and stuff. I don't see it. Well, it's been weeks, so let's just get to it because that's all we care about anyway. I'm just glad this is working fine. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this live stream. Let me have a sip of my coffee. I've been racing around trying to get ready. This video does not have like a theme topic like usual because there's just so much to catch you up on that we're just going to talk about a bunch of things. And the first thing I want to talk about, or just kind of announce, it's not critical, but it's nice for me. We actually hit that milestone where we got 50,000 subscribers on this channel. And that excited me because it was kind of one of those numbers you wanted to hit as a YouTuber. And of course, the next goal is going to be 100,000, which probably taken another 2 years to happen. But I'm still happy that people continue to find this information useful and they want to subscribe. If you're not one, please do subscribe. There's always something new rolling out. I try to release videos midweek and do a live stream every Saturday at 2 o'clock. And how I pay for all this is I run a business called reef.com, and that is where I sell products for the aquarium trade, whether I fabricate it out of acrylic or things I resell, from my wholesalers. So I want to bring it to your attention. I don't sell livestock at this time. It is more about dry goods. All right. So I wanted to catch up on the Bonaire trip. That was our big dive trip that took place a couple weeks ago. I was gone for 8 days. I rolled out a video about my reef creations and that big project with the huge skimmers and sumps and reactors all going to a client of mine. And so that rolled out while I was out of town. And then I wanted to do another little video. And I think I did squeeze out a little 3-minute video about Bonaire to kind of give you a teaser. I have about 10 gigs of video and pictures to edit through to turn into a nice movie. And that will be coming, but from the moment I got back home, I have just been working nonstop on one thing or another. And that included getting out as many orders as possible. I landed Sunday, and I think by Tuesday I had shipped out 40 orders. So thank you very much for your business. I appreciate that. It helps me pay the bills. I also have been getting feedback from quite a few of you that have tried out Live Rock Enhance, which is that new product that I tried out in my system and I'm very happy with. And now I need to leave my tank alone and let it settle down because I'm kind of pushing it to the max, throwing new things into it. And I've had a couple of corals turn a little bit white, and I'm sure part of that is me, and part of it is the new addition of NoPox that's been in my tank now for the last week. And I just don't want to lose my corals, obviously. Now, this all looks white on this camera. It's terrible because of the way webcams pick up a reef tank. I hate that. I really would like to have a nice high quality picture you guys could see. But this is what you get. Either you'll see the tank or you'll see me. And I know a lot of you said, I want the tank in the background, so I'm trying to appease you here today. I'm going to tilt this down slightly. There we go. You don't need so much of that background on top. Okay. So Club Milla's Reef is a group I created on Facebook about, I think someone said 8 months ago. I didn't realize it was that long. And we have over 5,000, or I'm sorry, I think over 4,000 members right now. It keeps growing. And I created it specifically for people that follow me on YouTube. That was my thought. But some of you don't like Facebook. You're like, no, I don't want to do it. And I get that. That's fine. I understand. But it is an area where you can interact with me on a regular basis. You can tag me with your questions. It's a great group. And the link is right here. Facebook.com/groups/MeLovesReef. And we have a lot of people answering questions. And our group has a, you got to be kind rule. That's it. You got to be nice to people. If you're not nice, you get thrown out and you never get to come back. So we've created this safe zone where you can talk about reef tanks and you can be happy. And you can ask your questions. You can ask for identifications. We don't get mad at you. And anyone that does gets smacked. Because you have to be able to ask questions. I'm in the Neptune group. And I'm using gear I haven't used before that people have been using for years. And I'm asking questions like, how do you do such and such? Or I can't quite figure this out. And I don't want to get yelled at either or be made fun of. So I totally understand those feelings. And I've always felt that we should be able to go somewhere and ask questions. So what I did with Club Milo's Reef right before Bonaire was I did a fundraiser. I did a tiny video here on YouTube that was 3 minutes long that I thought, well, surely everyone's going to watch that because it's only 3 minutes. And hardly anyone did. And what it was a fundraiser to adopt a coral thicket, which we then actually did. So what happened was I said, look, I want to make $1,000. We've got 8 days to do it. I think we can do it. And then in the first day, we raised $1,000. So within 2 days, I asked everyone, do you want us to just stop or should we just keep going? And the resounding comments from everyone on this channel and through Facebook was like, just keep bringing in the money. Let's just give it to them and help them out. So that's what we did. And we ended up raising just shy of $2,200. It was like $2,184.53 or something like that. I presented them with a check. You're going to see that in the upcoming video. And then we dove down and we adopted our 2 coral thickets, which was really, really cool. So these thickets are ginormous things that are on a rebar frame. And it's this Acropora cervicornis, I always say it wrong, cervicornis, that are beautiful staghorns. And they have been planting them for several years now. I think coming up on 5 years. And as of this moment, they've planted 22,000 corals. That's a lot of work for 5 years. And so I said, okay, so I know we gave you money for these corals, but we're not buying a coral, we're adopting, and it is forever. But I said, what does the money really go to? And she said, for example, that $2,000 would cover our fuel for our boat for a year. I thought that's great. I mean, it gives them something so they can go out, bring the corals out, come back in, because not everything is going to be swim out. Sometimes you're going to have to use a boat to bring things to location to start planting. And so that's exciting. And Reef Renewal Bonaire is working on adding more corals. They only have 2 right now that they're taking care of, and they want to add 2 or 3 others. So we helped, I say we, Club Milo's Reef helped fund it. And that's why we got this nice little certificate with a nice thank you letter on the back that you can kind of see. See, Club Milo's Reef right there. And if you're saying, well, why is there a different name on the top? Actually, Coral Restoration Foundation was in the transition of going to Reef Renewal, the name, down there in Bonaire. And so both names are on everything, including, well, it's on everything. And I had to verify that all was legit, and it was. So it was a really nice experience, and we were very happy to do it. And I took a bunch of pictures of the corals we adopted, and we attached these tags on the side of the rebar frames. And so someone is diving or snorkeling and can get down there, which is not deep. It's like 15, 20 feet. They can actually see our tags right down there. So I thought it was pretty neat. All right. Then, from the moment of getting home and getting the orders out, then on Wednesday, I had new internet installed in my house. And I have had, Charter Spectrum, which is considered pretty quick. And my download speed was around 200. My upload speed was 10. And I was like, it's almost enough for YouTube, but I wasn't really happy. And I kept seeing these ads for AT&T fiber. And I called them up and said, am I eligible? Because usually you call and they say, oh, no, we don't have that in your area yet. I always hear that. And they're like, yes, we have it in your area. And I said, well, I care about upload speed. I don't care about download. Download's whatever. And the funny thing is the guy on the phone's like, oh, it's another guy who wants to stream his game. I've got to have the best upload speed for my game. And I was like, no, actually I do a channel about saltwater reefs and I do these live streams every Saturday and I really need upload speed. And the guy got super excited and he was all, like I said, he was just like, this is fantastic. So the internet that I've now connected is 1,000 down, 1,000 up, which is sort of like 930 down and 947 up, which is incredible. So I took a 5.3 gig file of a video I've uploaded to YouTube before, which usually takes about 45 minutes to upload. And I did an upload, a test upload to YouTube that you guys didn't see. I just wanted to do a test, and I left it unlisted. But I uploaded the entire file in 1 minute and 20 seconds. And I was like, now we're talking. That is fantastic. So I'm hoping we'll never have problems with streams again. We're actually wired through an Ethernet cable from the router straight to the computer. And the guy made me a super long cable so I can actually bring the computer inside the workshop and still be wired, not using any Wi-Fi. And that way we can keep a good solid connection as long as nothing goes wrong at AT&T. But so that was exciting, and it took them all day. Then the next day I had an alarm company out here replacing my entire alarm system with a different one that had cameras and stuff I wanted. And then I spent the entire night trying to get my network of my new router to communicate with everything, including my Apex system, which was kind of a hurdle, unfortunately. And I spent hours trying to solve it, and then finally a buddy called me up and goes, "Did you change this?" And I'm like, "No," and he says, "Change that one," so I did, and boom, it worked. So it's always just one stupid setting, right? And then that night, I installed the new Apex to replace my Apex Classic that I have been hanging on to with my fingernails because I really trust it and love it. And I've had the newer one sitting here for way too long, and I finally hooked it up. And then my friend Dwayne came in on Friday, the one that you saw where we took out all these corals out of my tank 1.5 years ago, and he flew in for Aqua Shella. And what we did was we planted some corals he brought with him in my tank. But actually, let me rewind a little bit. He looked at my tank and he said, "I have nowhere to put these corals." I said, "That's what I keep telling people. I don't want any frags. I got nowhere to put them." And so I basically looked over here, and I'm going to tilt this a little bit here. So this spot right here was a big Monty cap right there, just whirling. It was beautiful. And I just said, you know what? It's coming out. And I just ripped the coral out. And of course, it broke into pieces because these Lobos that a lot of people like, and you can barely make them out in this video, they're very orange and vivid when the lights are glowing. And they were being completely covered and shadowed by the Montipora. So I removed that, and we did some rock turning to kind of get some flat surfaces, and we planted some new corals over there. And since doing that, guess what? My sand bed is moving again. I think that Monty was like the perfect shape, so the flow would go over the top and the sand bed stayed nice and stable. And now I'm getting this bald spot right here, and the sand keeps trying to creep up here, and I have to scoop it. And now I'm missing that Monty, of course, because it was so perfectly shaped, and it was just handling the flow beautifully. But such is life of a reef keeper. You keep adopting or adapting to the latest circumstances. Then that night we started to program, or actually he calibrated my Apex probes. And when he did that, that took a few hours, and I was getting things ready for Aquashella. And then Saturday morning, we're at Aquashella all day long. Now, Aquashella is like Reefapalooza. It's like Macna in that regard that there's a lot of vendors, but it's completely different in that it's a combination of freshwater and saltwater. Let me take this off the screen. I left it on there forever. Sorry. Let me put something else up there in case you guys want to spend money. Okay. What happened was we got there, and because Dwayne and I were speaking first thing Saturday morning, we walked right in. But there was this massive line, and the weather was cold. And Dwayne came here from Seattle. He's used to cold. And he walked out the door and goes, "Oh, I don't need a jacket." And I walked out, I was like, "Yeah, I do." And I grabbed my jacket, and I grabbed his and came out to the car, and he was like, "Oh, okay." It was really cold. Texas, for some reason, got cold. And the thing is that it's not so bad, but you had to walk like a quarter of a mile, half a mile from your car to the door. But you couldn't just walk in because there was so many people already there, and the check-in process was slow. And there was some people standing outside for an hour, hour and a half trying to get in. And then the fire marshal saw the massive line and basically said no one else is allowed to enter. It's too many people for the building, for the venue, and chased some people away, which got some people upset. But if you think about that, that means that you have done such a good job promoting your event, not everyone fits. There are worse problems to have when it comes to running a show. So what happened was a few hours later, the lines had dissipated some, and others just showed up and were able to come right in. So what they made an announcement on their Facebook page, and they said, "Look, we're sorry you got turned away. We recommend you don't do walk-in buy tickets, but buy your tickets online today for tomorrow, and come join us tomorrow." So a total of 6,005 people came to this event, and it was so fun. There was a whole section of art, where, you know, things aquatic. As a matter of fact, I bought a piece of art. Let me go fetch it. And this was done by a friend of mine who I think is in Minnesota or Michigan. Probably Minnesota. And she did these beautiful peppermint angels. Now, peppermint angels are very expensive. Very few people get these because they're $10,000. They come from very deep waters, and only the, you know, the rich of the rich get to have one. And I've seen one in person at a public aquarium in Hawaii, and it was gorgeous. And I tried to take a picture, and that fish was always on the move. So I finally have one I can look at. Nori did a beautiful job, and I couldn't wait to buy it, and so I did. I bought that while I was there. And I also got a couple of really cool gifts from some people too while I was there. And then I was wearing the famous Fritz glasses, these guys right here. And I'll tell you, these are the most dangerous glasses you could possibly wear at one of those shows because everything looks gorgeous. And something happens. You're wearing these and your wallet just keeps coming out of your back pocket and you start doing this thing to a lot of people. And it just never seems to stop. And they keep taking your plastic credit cards and you run out of that green paper stuff. And I bought a bunch of corals on Sunday, and we came home, and Dwayne's like, great, now we have to plant more corals. Where are we going to put those? And I said, I don't know, but you can figure it out. That's the only reason I bought them, because you're here, and you'll plant them, because I'll just stick them on the sand bed forever. So he was determined to get those all planted, and he glued everything down, and for the most part, he did a great job. One fell down, but I'll fix that myself. And then we stayed up all Sunday night programming the old Apex into the new Apex. The old one is a black one. I had one of the very old ones. And the new one is that silver and orange or gray and orange look. And that is now actually called Apex or Apex NG, which might stand for New Generation. And the old ones, the classic, is basically going to the side. Doesn't mean they don't exist or they won't work, but all the focus at Neptune Systems is the new one because it has to work with the Trident. And that happened too. But I'm not going to jump ahead quite yet. I want to also tell you that Saturday night, there was this huge party at a hotel called the Lorenzo in Dallas. And the Lorenzo Hotel is very eclectic. Like they had this big wooden chandelier. And when I say wooden, I mean it's like the cutouts of a shape that made like a wagon wheel that hangs up to the ceiling. It's all painted white. And on the outside edges, all the way around the chandelier were little LED panels. LCD panels that had the flickering of a candle, like a drawing of a living candle inside each frame of the chandelier. That was one example. There was another spot on the wall where chairs were sticking out of the wall. They were like half embedded, like something weird had happened in time and space. And the hotel rooms were very eclectic. Like I went to one guy's room, everyone was getting his beer, and I found this huge like grandfather clock cut out against the wall. But when you looked at it, you're like, wait, that's not a grandfather clock at all. It's a giant or enormous piece of wood that has the profile cut out of a grandfather clock, and there's like a shadow inside. And inside the top was an actual clock glued in the opening to give you the appearance of a grandfather clock. Very neat kind of stuff. Some people, or most people in their rooms, had a ginormous lamp next to the bed that looked like the one out of the Pixar logo, the one that bounces. Imagine a ginormous Pixar lamp by your bed. So a few people took pictures of those. And it was stuff like that all over the building. Round mirrors, big eyeballs blinking at you. It was just insane. And it was a really neat place to go. And we stayed up late that night. A lot of YouTubers were there. And so I got to run into Than from Tidal Gardens. I saw Rico. I saw Joey from King of DIY. Joey's crazy, and we had a lot of fun. He'd yell at me. We were all on an elevator trying to go down, and he stopped at his floor, and he goes, Mark, get out here. I'm not going to tell you one more time. As if he'd been telling me all night long that I'm supposed to get out of this elevator. And, you know, everyone's just like, what the hell? It was funny. Yeah, so we got back. It was 2:30 in the morning. We came home. We had to go right back and do it all day long Sunday morning, too. But that was a lot of fun. And then, like I said, we stayed up all night until 4 in the morning programming my newer Apex so that everything was working on it properly, because then I had to rush Dwayne to the airport with a few corals from my tank. And then I just passed out. I couldn't do anything. I was so wiped out. Dwayne said we did 2 weeks worth of work in 3 days, and he was not wrong. Then, Tuesday. Oh, I forgot to mention. Sunday morning, I step out of the truck, I grab my phone, I put it in my back pocket, and I miss my pocket, and it shatters on the ground. And I was not mad, I was just annoyed because I just shattered the glass. I mean, it hit the concrete super hard in a parking lot. There's no recovering from that. And I just said, well, I'm going to Apple. And I already had an appointment to go to Apple on Tuesday to get a AirPod repaired or replaced because something was wrong with it. And so I walked in and I said, well, I had this one appointment, but I need you to fix this phone too. So they took care of both matters at once. And while my phone was gone and I had no connectivity, I got this one notification from my new alarm system saying there's someone pushing your doorbell. And I saw a picture of an arm sticking out because they're pushing the button, right? And then I had a notification come up on my watch that said, you just got you just received a delivery or something, but I swear it said your Trident has been delivered. So of course I had to rush home and open my box and just drool over it because we've been talking about the Trident forever. And let's see, where are we now? Let's see if I can do this. How about there? So what you're looking at now, and I'll turn this thing off. You don't need that on the screen forever either. I wish those things kind of timed out after a minute. So that right there is a Trident sitting on a cardboard box above the level of my sump, and it is between my electrical and my skimmer section. And the Trident is a device that has been in production for the last couple of years, and they contacted me about a week ago and said, Mark, we want you to be part of the NSI testers, but you're not running the new Apex. So that is why I was so motivated to get myself the new one installed, because they were telling me you have to try this thing out. And they did. They wanted my feedback on what it was like to plug it in. As a hobbyist, did you run into any problems? How did you solve those problems? And I can't say a lot, but there's not a lot more. I'm not hiding anything. It just, they wanted me to go through the experience like a blind man, hooking up something brand new to a piece of equipment, and how did it go, and give them all the updates and feedback and my opinions, which I did. And ever since, it's been running and chirping every 6 hours, and I've had it now since Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're on our 4th day now, and it's been pretty cool. So what it does is it measures your alkalinity, your calcium, and your magnesium, and it reports it right on Apex Fusion. And I can show you that. How am I going to do this? All right, give me a second here to figure out how I do this again. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to hide all my personal bookmarks, because you don't need to see those. Well, actually, I need to see one to open the Fusion, right? And now we'll hide it. All right, how do I do this? I'm trying to figure out how to do this in a smart way. Okay, I think I have an idea. This may work. This may not. I might not be able to do this. I need to be able to show with you part of a window and not the whole window. And I'm not sure how to do that. Or maybe I'll just do a video later. That way I can control the environment better instead of on the live stream. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take the chance, because there are certain things that cannot be shared yet. So what I'll do is I will add a picture, maybe? Choose a file. There we go. Desktop. What does it want? Okay, I'll do it a different way. Sorry guys, I didn't expect this to be so complicated. How about this guy here? Or this one, or this one, or this one. I like this one. This is a good one. So we'll open that. I believe you're seeing that on your screen now? No? Yes? No? Yes. Okay, so it's on the screen. And so what you're looking at right there is the Trident from my dashboard. And inside the panel itself, what you're looking at right here, it shows my alkalinity was measuring at 9.94 during that one test. Calcium's at 379, and magnesium at 1411. A lot of people have been saying, oh, your calcium's so low. I'm like, no, it's actually perfect. I normally keep my tank around 400, and this is 379. That's almost 380. 375 to 425 is the target range. I'm actually within my target. But everyone's like, oh, why isn't your number higher? I'm like, how much higher do you want your calcium to be? So I actually went to double check myself and see if I was somehow forgetting. And yeah, 375 to 425, 375 to 450, that's the range. So being at 380 is not bad. You know, I'd like 400, and you know, if I can hit 400, that's great. But it's not a make or break, or like, oh my God, your calcium's so super low. That wasn't the case at all. But when I first hooked it up, my alkalinity was really high, and my magnesium was really high. So the first thing I did from reading that result, you know, I did a series of tests with my ELOS test kits to compare, and for the most part, they matched. My magnesium test kit measured a little lower than the Trident, but since the Trident was giving me the same high number several tests in a row, I decided to go ahead and stop dosing magnesium temporarily, and I adjusted my calcium reactor to stop adding alkalinity so that could come down, and that's why it's measuring at 9.94 right now. It was 11.38, I think, so it was a little bit higher than 11. And remember, the range for alkalinity is 8 to 11. So I was just a little bit higher than that. And that's only because I made some recent changes on my reactor. I had to replace the media, and then I went out of town for 8 days. While I was gone, my tank sitter had to replace a pump that had failed on it after less than 3 years. And all those changes, and then you know, I come back and I'm working like crazy and all those things going on here in my home. And I just didn't really keep up with it. So I didn't even get to do my water test last weekend because of Aqua Shella and Dwayne being here. And I mean, we slept the first night 6 hours, the second night 5 hours, the third night 4 hours. That's why I was dead on Monday. It was rough, but somehow I was able to pull through and get through this Trident testing and get it hooked up, because I knew they're going to want my answers immediately, and I couldn't be one of those guys that has it for like 2 or 3 weeks and finally hooks it up. They wanted feedback, so I did my job, and I hooked it all up, which has been working out really well. A lot of questions about the Trident. I'll answer some of the things I know. For one, the price is between $500 and $600. The refills for the reagents is going to be a 2-month supply, if I remember correctly, and the price is around $40 for that. If you wanted to get, and there's talk of, or promises that there's going to be bigger amounts of reagents, so you can buy it, you know, in bulk to have more reagent and save some money, so you're not paying for so much shipping. Each time it runs, the process runs about 25 minutes to do all the testing. It just sits there and draws water right out of your tank, measures it, and then dumps into a small waste collector of your choice. And in my case, I used a 1-gallon jug. I just had one, and each time it runs the tests, it's wasting 100 milliliters of liquid. So in 10 days, it has pulled out a total of 1 liter of liquid out of your tank, combined with whatever reagents it used. And, you know, so 20 days is 2 liters, 30 days is 3 liters out of your entire system. So if you're wondering about that, or you have to keep track of your salinity, you can. The packaging was beautiful. The videos of how to set it up are excellent. You won't have any problems at all if you follow it step by step, which I did. And when it runs, it's very quiet. It kind of reminds me of an R2-D2 unit, which I love. And so at midnight, and at 6 in the morning, and at lunchtime 12, and then at 6 p.m. you hear the little whirring sounds of it happening, and I get super excited. And it's funny because I can just go to Fusion now and see how I'm doing as of noon today, which was 2.5 hours ago, and I can see my numbers are this. And instead of having to pull out test kits, because you know I tell you it's water test Saturday, and you need to go test your tank. Well, now it's testing it around the clock. I always can see what the latest numbers are, and when it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, oh, I have to wait an hour for my next test. It's funny because it lets you be lazier, but more informed, which I think is awesome. And I think it's going to be a huge hit. Like I said, the connection was simple. It plugged into the Apex 832, which is their power bar. One thing that was resolved was that people said, well, you have to buy the new one to run it. That's true, but as far as I understand, and I'm pretty sure I have this right, you can just buy the new brain of the Apex and be able to connect it. So it's not like you have to sit there and replace the entire system with an entirely new system, especially if you just bought one in the last couple of years and you feel like you were slighted. You weren't. I mean, it's just new technology coming out. So that's exciting because you'll be able to have this thing running. And there's people out there saying, I already want 2. And I'm kind of thinking the same thing. I want one on the frag tank, which is kind of crazy. I think I'll do water tests on the frag tank. And this one here it'll do most of it. You know, my apex rate tells me pH, salinity, alkalinity, calcium, magnesium. So I'm stuck with nitrate and phosphate. What can I do to overcome those two? But no, I'll still have to measure my salinity. And matter of fact, of course, it's nowhere in sight. I bought a new salinity tester at Aqua Shella from Hannah. And I don't know where the thing is. There it is. So all my friends were like, did you get it? Did you get it? So I went and bought it. And this is it right here. It's a new salinity tester. And I haven't even opened it yet. It comes with some reagents in there. Some calibration solutions. So here is your probe, your meter. And then inside are some calibration packets that they provide. They give you 3 or 4 in here. 1, 2, 3. 4, yeah, 4, and plus the instruction sheet. So I'll be letting you guys know how this works out. I haven't had a chance to touch it yet. I've been slightly busy. So that is a brand new thing that I will be using on my tank to verify my salinity. And I mentioned to you guys I've been running NoPox. So it's been running a solid week now. I talked to my tank sitter who uses NoPox. I've never used it, which is one of the reasons I wanted to. I've done other methods of nitrate control in the past, and I was determined to try this out, and I just wanted to do it, you know, in a systematic way. And so I talked with someone that's used it successfully, and I wanted to hear what he had to say. And he told me, you know, because I did the math, and I believe I needed to dose around 56 milliliters a day. And so he said, I would just tell you to run it at 40 milliliters a day, and let's just see what happens. So that's what I've done. I've got a small Comore dosing pump that's putting it in once a day, and I've been getting a white film on the inside of my glass. So I clean the glass off, and it's a bacterial thing. And I'm assuming it will probably take 3 or 4 weeks for something to happen. While I was at Aqua Shella, I bought 2 more bottles of NoPox, so I actually have 3 bottles, so I will not run out during this process. And I'm hoping and excited to report to you guys it totally worked, and I knocked them down from 80 down to, you know, 10, and something like that. I'm not trying to hit 0, and I'm hoping that I can bring them down and then maybe use a maintenance dose where it's putting in 10 a day or something and just keeps them down there. And I'm hoping I won't be telling you, oh my God, I had this huge cyano bloom, or oh my God, all my corals died, or anything like that. You know, I'm hoping it's just going to be a good report. But let's see. I did the same thing with the brick a couple years ago, and I wanted to see if it would work, and I'm hoping for good results again. Also, I went to Polyp Labs booth, and you guys know I love the Coral View, the Coral View lens that you put on your iPhone. And nothing is near me today. Hang on. Got to get the phone. So, iPhone, nice new piece of glass. Really like that. And you clip this on the front, and then you can take pictures and video. Well, this is a new lens that they just released that screws on the front that has a knob that you can dial with your finger. And so what it does is this lens replaces the orange filter, the yellow filter, and I think it even replaces the polarizing filter. So this one guy will do all 3 in one. And so I've messed with it a little bit, and not completely convinced that that all of it works in one. I like it as an additional lens. You can stack those lenses, and so I could put an orange one on the front and get what I'm hoping to get as a good shot. Dwayne's trick lately is to grab his Aqua Shella glasses and put his phone behind it and shoot pictures of his tank and have these crazy glowy pictures. And if you were on my Instagram last night or on Facebook, you would have saw the pictures I shared taking pictures through those glasses, which led me to spend a bunch of money. I bought a beautiful ACAN. I'm in a mood for ACANs, and I went to this one booth, and well, I went to multiple booths at the show, and I bought some dendrophilia that are right, almost where I'm pointing, right there. They're closed right now, but they open up all night. And I'm hoping to do some better feeding during the daytime, so they'll be wide open during the daytime. And I got some acans, I got some zoas, and there's 2 new ones here. There's one back there. Really, really pretty. And then I found this one acan, cherry corals. And I saw it, I was like, oh man, that is nice. What's that one called? And he says, a king's ransom. Oh my God, how much is that going to cost? And it was a lot. And I was like, I'll take it. And he said, Mark, you've never bought anything from me before, which is true. I never have. And so now he can check that off his bucket list that Mark spent money at his shop. And I've got this beautiful acan over here in the front of my tank. And that one is on my Instagram. You guys should check it out. It's redonkulous. So be sure you go over there. What else do I need to catch you up on? Let's see. Oh, so I did a funny thing. When we were hooking up the new Apex, we had to get the new brain connected, had to connect it to the network, and then we had to connect the 832, which is the power bar. This is the power bar. And what you have is a series of 8 outlets here, and you have some little lights on the bottom here to show you when they're on or off. And on the side here, you got a bunch more ports. There are Aquabus cables, there's 1-link ports, there's I don't even know what the other ones are for, but anyway, there's a bunch of ports. And so we got it hooked up, and this one outlet, number 3, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Number 3 kept doing this weird clicking noise, and it was turning off my Vortec pump. And so then Dwayne's like, well, I think your pump just died. I was like, no, because I refused to accept that. And I plugged into a regular wall outlet, and the pump worked fine. And so we didn't have anything plugged into this, and it kept clicking, like clickety-clickety-clack. And I'm like, and nothing was in it. And he would disable it, you know, with Apex Fusion, he could just shut it off. And then he would restart it, and it would clickety-clickety-clack. I'm like, okay, man, there's something wrong with that outlet. I want you to mark it dead. And I was like, no, wait, I want you to mark it, it's dead, Jim. And then I printed up this little red Star Trek shirt. And I then cut it out, I stuck it on a piece of tape, and I taped the outlet, because that outlet is dead. It's a Star Trek reference, and made me laugh. And then I put it on Facebook in the Neptune group, and I had the screenshot of my It's Dead Jim switch, and then this red shirt. Got a lot of laughs. But the cool thing was, I got lucky, because one of the sales guys from Neptune Systems was still here in town, and he said, hey, Mark, and it was midnight. He goes, hey, Mark, I'm still here in town. My flight is until 3 o'clock tomorrow. Would you like me to come by in the morning and swap that out? I'm like, yeah? And I tease him because he always tells everyone, I'm not tech support. But he kind of did a techie thing. And he showed up with a new one, and we copied all the code over again for those 8 outlets. And then we swapped everything out, and then he went and did some crazy matrix work and changed some addresses or something, and boom, I have 8 outlets, which is great news. So I'm sending that one back to Apex for repairs. So it was just luck. You know, it's not like, oh, Mark gets all the white glove treatment. It was just the guy was still in town, and he offered, and I happened to say yes at midnight because I'm up so late. And so the next morning, I brewed a pot of coffee, and boom, he was here at my front door, and spent a couple hours talking about reefs, and it was a lot of fun. So that was awesome. And then, you know, he had to head off to some fish stores, and then from there he went straight back to California, where they make more stuff like Tridents. So yes, the Trident is not fake. It's not vaporware. It's just been something that had to be completely thoroughly tested and proven to make sure that when it comes to market, it works great, so that you're not struggling and you're not upset and you're not thinking you wasted money or being, you know, whatever. We want to make sure that it works well. And so I was included in that group, which is great because, you know, I test stuff. So that was cool. Let's see, what else? That's pretty much everything on my list. Oh, look, the chat has gone nuts. It sat here really, it was like you guys are really listening today. Let me scroll to the bottom. So I didn't do anything about opening up a tab for if questions are being collected by the moderators. Give me a second to open that up. Let me find what I need here. Guess I'll go to more because I don't see it yet. There we go. Okay. I'm in it now. If this is today's, then I need to say thank you to someone for a super chat. Joey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I did not see that happen because I was busy yakking like usual. I heard reef currents. Someone asked, are you going to reef currents in Houston? I think that's happening like May 4th, 5th, something like that. I might be able to make that one. I'm thinking about that one. My next one is next weekend in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that one is called Tornado Alley Frag Show or something close to that. I shared it on facebook.com/Mila's Reef. I shared it yesterday. And of course, they have a Facebook page as well. So be sure, if you're somewhere near Tulsa, Oklahoma next weekend, come to that and come hang out and go home with a bunch of frags. And I highly recommend you bring your orange glasses so that you spend all your money. And then someone asked me here a second ago, oh, why do you need a tank sitter if you have a fully automated equipment? To be honest, fully automated does not mean bulletproof. Things can go wrong. And having someone walk in here and see that everything is running well, or to make slight adjustments, or to let me know they see a problem is so important. And I've got a great friend who's really smart, and he's helped me with a lot of things in my home, from automotive repair to electrical to AC. I mean, he knows it all. And so when he walks in here and he sees a problem, he'll either handle it or he'll let me know this is what's going on. And that's huge. And I've had other people in the past where I said, can you check my tank? And it was a nightmare. They were so bad. They were so bad. I came home and my entire fish room was just flooded with water. And they were like, yeah, I didn't know what to do. And I'm just like, how about letting me know there's water everywhere, or stopping whatever's causing the water? Oh, so aggravating. I remember that trip when I came home. I walked in the front door, put my suitcase down, saw all the water, and literally dealt with the fish room for 2 hours before I came out of the fish room to get my suitcase and start the washing machine and unpack my crap. I was just like, wow. But having someone, and so I have a huge bowl of candy here for him whenever he shows up, his favorite flavors, and that way he's appeased. And no, he's great. And so that's why, because you just never know when something is not going to work quite right. It's nice to have webcams and to have the Fusion hooked up to where you can just look at things online. But to have someone walk in and say, your Vortex making a horrible noise, or the calcium reactor stopped outputting fluid, or your top-off refused to add any water, or they just refill your top-off container to the top so it's full when you get home. That's really nice. And I highly recommend getting someone or working with someone to kind of, if you need to train them so that they'll do it exactly the way you like. And plus, they get to put in frozen food, which you can't do when you're out of town. Frozen's in the freezer, it's away from the tank, and you can have some flake or some pellet going automatically, but having the frozen food every day is, I feel, successful for my fish. So he does that for me when he shows up. Noah asks, the foot of my Durasa's clam, the foot? That literal foot that comes out the bottom is a little pale. Any thoughts on what's going on? Well, the foot of a clam is to keep the clam from moving. I don't think the color matters on those. Usually they're kind of white. But your calcium is at 450, your alkaline is at 7, your temperature is around 80. You didn't mention magnesium. I'd raise your alkaline a little bit higher. 7's kind of on the low side. I like 8 at the bottom if you're going to do that. But hopefully your clam will be okay. Have you ever gotten over to Austin Aqua Farms? I have not. I was kind of near there once, and I think we called ahead and they didn't answer the phone, so we didn't do it. And that was a long time ago. I haven't heard about them in forever. Let's see. Connor asked me how the scuba diving was. So why don't I talk about that for a few minutes? I mean, now's a good time. And, Andrea's in there today helping us with the live stream. So if she sees any questions, she'll start copying them over for me so I don't miss it. The diving was great. We got there, I guess it was Sunday. And then we checked into basically we rented a house for the 8 days. And it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Each bedroom had its own air conditioner unit. It had a kitchen. It had nice living space. We had Wi-Fi, which was pretty impressive. And the island of Bonaire is in the middle of the ocean, east of Cuba, north of Venezuela. And it's kind of a kidney bean-shaped island that is only for diving and snorkeling. That's it. There's nothing else to do there except go to a dive shop and then go diving. And we had a great time going on these shore dives. And a shore dive just means you drive up to a spot you like, and if the area looks like you want to go in, you just park your vehicle, you put all your gear, and you go straight into the ocean and start snorkeling or diving on a reef. And the depth of the corals would be between 6 feet and 80 to 100 feet. About 100 feet was the low part. And there was huge, ginormous maze corals and brain corals. I love maze corals. I can't stop taking pictures of the darn things. And, you know, I probably have 800 pictures of mazes that all look the same, but they're different. I got them in different places. And what we basically did is we wanted ease of entry. So if we saw a spot that looked like it was kind of hard to get into, we're like, skip it. We'll go down another eighth of a mile and enter at that spot because you can just kind of walk in, or there was a spot that looked safer. And I really appreciated that. And when we went out into the ocean from a few different dive spots, we found the coral restoration trees floating in mid-water with a big buoy at the top and a weight at the bottom, and all the frags were growing off these trees that are made of PVC or something. And that was the first thing we saw. And then when you swam out a little bit further, there was some of those coral thickets growing up, which were the planted acroporas that were in different sizes, either very young, medium, mature, awesome. And I would get so excited. And I had my iPhone 6 inside a water shot case with these really nice lights that I got from Amazon right before the trip. And it worked great. And everyone was like, man, those lights are so cool. And I was really glad I bought them because they did a great job of lighting up the corals and showing shrimp and the tentacles of gorgonians and things like that. And I'm hoping that I'll do a good job on the footage. You got to remember, I'm not a huge diver. I love diving, but I've literally, as of this trip, completed 49 dives since 2012. And I've been able to dive in Dominican Republic. I've gone to Florida. I've gone to Fiji, and now I've done Bonaire. Am I forgetting anything? I guess that's about it. I did some diving in Hawaii. So I don't just want to dive just to say I dive. Like, I don't want to just jump in a lake and go see some freshwater fish because I don't care. I really want to go to beautiful reefs and find invertebrates and find corals. I mean, that's what gets my heart racing. I really love that stuff. And so when I went out there with my lights, I was really wanting to get good pictures because I know with low light, it's going to be kind of crappy. It's going to be kind of blue. And they worked out really well. I was very happy. The lights had these batteries that lasted 70 minutes after a charge, which was great. And one of the things I worked on really hard was breathing because I love to inhale just suck my air tank dry. And I'm really trying to improve in that regard. And some of the people have been diving, the people in my group have been diving way more than I have. And they're like, wow, Mark, considering how few dives you've done, your buoyancy, which is your ability to float over something and not slam into it, was remarkable. And I was like, well, that's nice to hear because, that's the thing. I love diving with people that have aquariums because they get it. They don't want to break anything. They don't want to bump into anything. They don't even want to touch it. And while there are rules in Bonaire, like if you wear gloves, you're not allowed to dive with us, for example, because that means you're going to grab things. And some people might think, oh, I'm doing it to protect my hands. I was like, nope. If you're wearing gloves, you're likely to grab onto something you shouldn't be touching. And the only thing you should be doing in the ocean is swimming above and enjoying it and not trying to handle things, not try to pet things, And I find that what I try to do is, like, even in my reef, when you're working in your tank, you typically don't touch the coral, you touch the rock. And so if there was like this huge thing and I'm drifting toward it a little bit because of the current or whatever, I would take my finger and try to find a spot in the middle of a rock and like push off like an astronaut to drift backwards again and adjust your air and your BC to float you up a little bit and get you away. So I was doing some of that. But for the most part, I was trying to be steady, very hard to do with the camera. And, I really should be focusing on just diving, but I love to capture the memories. And as soon as we got on shore, I could open up the iPhone and instantly show the pictures and the videos to my group instead of waiting until we got back to our rental to download off a memory card, to open up a computer and to start analyzing. That's the beauty of doing it on an iPhone. So I really like that. And I'm tempted to possibly get a new water shot case or whatever is on the market these days for my newer phone. I hate to put my brand new phone inside the ocean, but at the same time, if it's a nice, safe case, we'll have 4K video. And so if I go somewhere exotic, like let's say the Red Sea, we'd have some amazing footage, right? So I did a total of 13 dives, including one night dive, and I want to tell you a funny story about that. And you're going to hear some of the stuff in the video. So if you hear it twice, oh well. But one of the things that, I want to do is a night dive. A night dive means you go out when it's dark. And everyone said when you're diving in the dark, watch out for the tarpons. And tarpons are these big, long fish that I don't know. They're just long. And apparently, they know night dives mean food, because when you shine the light on something, they see it, and while you're like, oh, that's so beautiful, shoop, they come and they eat it, and you're like, oh my God, I just killed that thing by letting it be visible. And so they're like, yeah, you got to watch out for these things because they're horrible. And I heard that many times. So I went with Bob. Bob Fenner is from Wet Web Media. We've been friends for a long time. He's done thousands of dives. I mean, like 3,000, 4,000. He's always diving. And here I'm the newbie, right? And so he's got his Nikon inside a big case with these huge strobes, and he goes off into the darkness. And you see his little light going off into the darkness. And then you see poo, 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 because his flash is going off as he's shooting like a fish or a sea star or whatever it was he saw. So I'm like, okay, well, let me turn on my lights. And those things, they were just like, I was like in a diesel truck with the high beams on. It's like, and everything was lit up. And I was like, well, this is bad because nothing's going to come out. It's going to be, you know, everything's going to be terrified of the light because they're trying to sleep. And Bob stayed way away from me because if I came near him with my lights, whatever he's trying to take a subject of ducked into the rocks, and he didn't like that. So it was really funny, the comparison with his limited light and then my blasters that were just flooding the area. And I actually put them on the lowest setting, but it was still so wide that none of the tarpons came near me. I think it was too much light, and they were like, nope, not going near that guy. So I ended up seeing some amazing things. Like one of the first things I spotted on my own was the lettuce nudibranch. But they were, you know, a nudibranch's like a long skinny thing with these little frills on the back. And this thing was round like a carnation, and I'm like, this thing is amazing. And Bob found these adorable little red crabs with purple arms. Really, really cool crabs. I don't know why we don't have them, because we would love them. Maybe they're banned or whatever, but man, they're awesome. And you'll see those in the video. But they were beautiful. We only spotted a handful, if that, of lionfish on the entire trip. So obviously whatever eats them out there is doing a great job. We came across some huge green moray eels. Lots of gorgonians, and I finally, for the first time in my life, found, Bob showed it to me first, but once he showed me, then I could see them everywhere, the flamingo conchs that go up the side of gorgonians. Those are the ones that look like a long shell with little dots all over their body. And it turns out, I didn't know this, and I don't know why I didn't realize it, but the dots on their body is actually their mantle that they pull in, and when they pull it completely into their shell, it's just a white, long shell. But when they pull the mantle up, you see those beautiful dots. And I found quite a few of those, which I was excited for. I did not see any seahorses. I did not see any manta rays. I did not see any dolphins that I heard about. I kept looking for, but I knew it was a long shot, but I kept hoping for whale sharks because I just love those and I want to see one in person in the ocean. Of course, I would have had to have gone out further, but I was like, let's go. Let's do it. And let me also mention that when I was diving that I have a problem with vision. You guys know I wear glasses. And I had a dive mask with a very old prescription. So right before the trip, a week in advance, I thought, let me replace these lenses with up-to-date lenses. And that didn't happen. So instead, I had another mask that was given to me a while back, brand new, that had a very strong prescription, and I was told once you're in the water, it'll amplify it and it'll work out perfectly for you. And I said, yeah, for distance, but how am I going to see the back of the camera to see if I'm getting the picture or getting the video? And then I was reading an FAQ page on a website where you order your masks, and it mentioned, you know, one person said, I can't see my gauges. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. Everyone's like, you got to worry about being able to see out there and seeing a giant turtle or a ship or whatever. But how about the gauge that says how much air you have left right here in your hand? I would like to know what that says. So I went to Scuba Toys and I bought these things. They're like a vinyl cheater. You glue inside your mask and you look through that so you can get a close-up, like, you know, bottom of a bifocal. Didn't work out. Didn't work out at all. In the end, I ended up, after 2 days of struggling with them, I just took them out, said forget it, and I used the distance lens, and I would hold my camera way out in front of me so I could see the back of the screen. And then I would also take my computer and I'd pull it way out in front of me so I could read the gauge down there. And that worked out, but I don't know. I think I need to order a full-fledged prescription mask if I want to dive more frequently. But I tend to only go like once or twice a year. But no, that was a lot of fun. Reef and Dive, sounds like a person that knows all about diving, says he's been on 500 dives and has not seen a whale shark. I know they're out there where we were. I mean, they said they'd seen them, but they're going to be out there. You know, they're not going to be near the shore because they're huge. They don't want to run into corals any more than I want to run into corals. But I would love to do that. So I did 13 dives total. 12 went. I made my share of mistakes. I even took notes of the mistakes I made in the first few dives. And then my final dive, my 13th dive, something happened to my ear. And I think my body just was fed up with me going down so much, you know, back to back every single day for 7 days in a row. And what happens is the ear just closed up like a stone. And normally you do something, you hold your nose and you breathe out and you pop the ear, or you equalize the pressure in your head. And what you're doing is you're equalizing the air spaces in your skull. And it wouldn't do anything. It was just like a stone. I was like, you know what? I think I need to go up. And I looked around for my dive buddy and couldn't find him, of course. And he told me repeatedly, no matter what, Mark, I always know where you are. I'm like, okay, he knows where I am. I'm going up. So I went up to I was down at 60 feet when this happened. So I thought, let me go up to 30 feet, and that'll equalize the pressure a little bit. And it did. It opened up. And what it did, it was not like poop, like, you know, popping your ears on an airplane. It was more like wee, wee, wee. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell was that? And I was like, okay, well, it's open. And then I tried to do that thing where you breathe out, you know, to kind of like, and it wouldn't do anything. I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going down again. And I'm looking around. I said, I think I'm going to go up to 15 feet and do a safety stop. And what that means is you stay at that spot for 3 minutes and you watch a countdown timer. And then after you've done your safety stop, it is safe to go to the surface and, you know, end your dive. So I went up to 15 feet and I stayed up there and I had my lights on my camera. And because I'm way above, the reef is all below me, completely 360 degrees below me, and I can't see Bob anywhere. So I'm holding the lights in front of me, flooding the area, even though it's daytime, and I just did this circular thing where I just turned around and around hoping he would see my lights if he glanced up, and he never saw me. And I was up there for 8 minutes, waiting and waiting and waiting and looking, and I couldn't find him anywhere. I said, you know what, that's it, I'm going to shore. And so I popped my head above water, I found my landmark, and I worked my way to shore, and then I unloaded all my gear onto the truck, and then I came to the shore in case, you know, I could flag anyone down and let them know I'm at the shore because I was alone, and so was Bob. And he was like, I couldn't find you anywhere. I'm like, you told me you always know where I am. All you do is look upward slightly because I was hovering for 8 minutes. But it all worked out. And that night, we were going to do one more night dive. And because of my ear situation, everyone was so worried. I wasn't because nothing bad had happened. And they kept saying, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, actually, I'm fine. I mean, I think I got out early or got out at the right time and didn't try to push it. And so nothing weird happened, but I also decided not to do another night dive because I didn't want to take a chance of hurting my ear. You know, maybe my body was just fed up. You know, it's not like I do this on a regular basis. So pushing too long, too hard will just end up with permanent damage. You don't want that. So, oh, Nanofish says he'd love to see an orca in the wild. You know, I've seen some incredible videos on Facebook where like a guy is on one of those paddle boards or surfboards and an orca comes to play with him. It's like, why can't that be me? So, let's see. Dwayne asks, whatever became of the LTA pictured on your site? You noted it was added to your son's tank. A long tentacle anemone. That was a very long time ago. I don't think it made it. I don't remember. It's too long ago. I remember at one point his tank was taken down. Maybe I gave it to someone else. There's a good chance of that. And by the way, did you guys happen to hear that a single anemone was sold at Aquashella for $12,000 last weekend? 12,000. I actually didn't see it, but I've seen pictures of it, and it was really, really pretty. Beerman just asked me why I didn't go to Reefapalooza Orlando. It's like, well, I just got done with Aquashella. I'm trying to take care of my customers, and next weekend I'm in Tulsa, so I decided not to go to that show. But you know what? I do feel left out. All my friends are there, and I'm not. And I had a lot of people say, are you coming? So I could not make that trip. Can't do every show. There's only one of me. Let's see. Trent, congratulations on joining this hobby, and I hope that your first acros do well for you. Take your time, keep your water really, really stable, and keep watching these channels. It'll help you a whole bunch. Let's see. Pickle Boy asks, what would be a good kind of coral that you could recommend for a 29-gallon aquarium for a beginner? I'll tell you this. There are certain corals, and there's videos about this, where they'll say these are the easiest beginner corals. But they're also the corals you'll never use again because they grew way too abundantly. So it's going to come down to what you have a desire to look at. Do you want to look at soft corals? Do you want to look at hard corals? Do you want motion or do you want color? You know, because like a colt coral, very easy to maintain. It's in the leather family. They have these fingers, these little polyps that come out like flowers all the way up the stalks. They're really pretty. To me, I think they're pretty. Others might say it's hideous and brown. But I found them fascinating, and they just moved around in the flow all the time. And you just glance at your tank, and you knew your flow was happening. When I glance at my Acropora right here, you can't tell there's flow happening. You have to look at, like, is the anemone moving? Are the hammers moving? Is the Gorgonian over here moving? You know, that's the kind of stuff that some people like to see. Star polyps is another one that people enjoy. They like the green star polyps, but they spread everywhere. Mushrooms are very popular, but they sting everything. Zinnia, awesome, beautiful, pulsing. Take over everything. Anything that seems so easy usually comes back to bite you later. So for me to say get any of those, yeah, you can, but keep in mind you'll probably enjoy them for a year, maybe a year and a half, and then you'll probably swear to yourself I'll never use those corals again. And you'll tell some other new person, oh, you'd love this, and they probably will initially, but will they love it long term? That's the question you have to ask yourself. All right, I'm scrolling up because I want to see what else is going on here. Oh, I want to tell you. So, this was posted on Facebook as well last week. I took a sample of water from 60 feet down in the ocean in Bonaire and brought it home in a water bottle, and I shipped it off to ICP for testing. And they came back with the results. And the numbers were very interesting. Everything was nice and clean, as you can imagine. Nitrates are low, phosphate was low. They were lacking iodine in Bonaire. They don't have enough iodine. I should have brought a bottle of Lugo solution, but it was really neat to do that because I took this I meant to take the kit with me. And they have this nice little white hard plastic PVC test tube with a lid, and that would have been nice and small and fit my luggage, but I totally forgot to pack it. Really mad at myself. Next trip I do a dive, I'm definitely throwing it in there. I might take a few. But I went ahead and I grabbed this 20-ounce bottle or 10, whatever a drink water bottle is, and I took it down in a net tethered to my BC. And as I was diving, I could hear it crinkling because the pressure was squishing the bottle, and I was worried that it was going to basically like create such a hard crease in the bottle it would poke a hole and would leak because I needed it for the airplane. So while I was down there, I opened the cap and I let some air, some water into it. And then when I got down to 60 feet and the spot surrounded by corals and gorgonians and maize corals and fish, I went ahead and I squished out the water to suck in fresher water. And then I put the cap on it and came back to shore. And that was shipped off to Denver for testing. And they came back with all the results, and they showed the chlorine level and the phosphorus level, phosphate, and the sulfur, and all that stuff. And so those results are on Facebook right now, and they're again on that Milla's Reef page. So that was a neat thing to do, and I kind of think that we should keep doing that. When we go on dive trips, why not grab a sample from these different places around the Earth? The one thing that caught my eye on that test, and that was what I measured myself as well, and they confirmed, was the salinity was 1.029 there. And I was like, wow, these corals did not seem to care one bit. It was amazing. So I think it's a possibility the reason the salinity was so high at this dive spot, where I happened to scoop the water out, it was about a quarter of a mile south of a ginormous salt exporting facility. There was mountains of salt, which you'll see in the video. It looked like pyramids of salt that they, I don't know, I didn't tour the facility, but they seem to be putting them in giant beds, and they let the evaporation occur, and then they scoop it out, and somehow they wash it, which I don't know how you can wash salt, because as you guys know, when you put salt in water, it melts. But somehow they wash the salt, and I guess they dry it again, and they have this giant mountain of salt, and then a ship shows up, and they give them all the salt to take it to different parts of the world. And so maybe some of that salt is stronger in that area, and that's why it measured so high, because there was a facility not far from the dive site. I found bunches of sun corals under this one pier, totally expected it, and there was thousands, and they were closed when I went. If I'd gone for the night dive there, they'd been wide open. That would have been an awesome video. But I saw tons and tons of sponges, and I found some really cool invertebrates I enjoyed. All right, what else did I skip here? One person asked, did it work with the donations? Yeah, we raised I mentioned earlier, we actually raised a total of almost $2,200, and I brought them a check when I was there, and we went and tagged our corals. Fish Whistler says, the hippo tang is chasing my mandarin. It's not a goby. And are there any ideas? Like, I don't know. Mandarins are pretty timid fish. They'll probably keep running from your hippo. Hopefully your hippo will lose interest in doing that. If not, you might have to remove the hippo, kind of isolate it for a while, and then put it back into the tank, and maybe it'll behave, especially if you kind of change your rock work up a little bit so it's a little different, because fish brains are kind of small, and you can change things up a little bit, and they might think they're in a new reef. And how are we doing on time? Hey, we're already over an hour. Maybe I should answer some questions. Charles Kopf asks, how do you like the Trident? I love it. I really do. I thought I would, and it was really exciting to get to try it out. Ellery Wong says, Coralview is bringing out another Trident competitor. Yeah, something is being revealed at Reefapalooza that seems to be a dosing pump system that is supposed to measure and then dose accordingly, all in the same mechanics. So that's supposed to be happening at Reefapalooza. Dylan asks, did you use NoPox for your nitrates? I am using NoPox. It's dosing every single day, and I'm just waiting for it to work its magic. I actually tried to do a nitrate test last week. I went ahead and I took my vial supposed to hold 5 milliliters of water, and since it's always more than the test can measure, I put 20 milliliters of tank water in there and tried to do the exact same test. And then, it still turned hot pink, which is more than 25 on my test kit. So I don't know what the nitrates are, but they're up there. But the water I measured from Bonaire was less than 1, so I know the kit works for a fact. I just have a lot of nitrate, and I need to get them down. Bierman asks, do you recommend doing a species-specific coral-only tank? No fish. I want to do a SPS-only tank, but no headaches of nutrients that I have to export. I can tell you this, that when you set up a tank with only corals, oftentimes people that do that discover the corals look really pale. And then when they add some fish, the corals color up. And I firmly believe that what's happening is you feed the fish poop all over the corals, and the corals eat that, and they get their color. And a lot of times when you see someone with a frag system with no fish in it, the corals aren't as vivid, and then they drop in like a yellow tang or some damsels or something, and all of a sudden the corals just do better. So being fishless is probably not a good master plan, but I will tell you, my father, who had a saltwater tank when I was a kid, when he sees my reef and he sees all these corals, he says, where are all the fish? You just decorate with a few. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I want reef safe, and I just want the ones I want. I don't want 1,000 fish in there. And so, yeah, it's not just packed with fish. There's 5 tangs in there, and there's 11 clowns, and there's 5 pajama cardinals, and there's, I don't know. I did have a jumper recently, unfortunately. My yellow chorus jumped, which was a big shock. I haven't had a jumper in forever. And I don't know what spooked it or if someone chased it, but I found it on the floor, and that was that. And usually, if I hear a little splashy sound, I always look to see what happened. And this is the one time I didn't check, and then I walked in the fish room hours later, and there was this dry fish. I'm like, yep, okay. I mean, I look, but I never find a fish on the floor. It's not like I look and there's one and I save it. It never happens. So this was a big surprise. I will get a new one, and I will get a tiny one. I love tiny fish, because the tiny wrasses will get into your corals and clean out the pests if there's any. They'll eat them. Okay. Bo asks if I'm going to Orlando. I'm not. I'm staying here. I'm going to work. And then next weekend I'll be in Tulsa. AK Reef Boy asks or says, sadly my tricolor aquapore is turning brown. Nothing changed. Everything's stable. Nitrates and phosphates are 0, which is a little bit too low. I think my lights need some supplemental light. Typically, if an acro turns brown, the nutrient levels in your tank are up. Or the coral isn't happy for another reason, like it is being covered by a pest. For example, and you said tricolor, the acropora eating flatworm loves the tricolor coral. So I don't know, if you have a colony or if you have a stick, like a single twig, what you've got, but you may need to dip that and really inspect it closely, see if there's anything obvious on it. Could be you're running your lights too long. Could be it's not getting enough light. Could be it's getting way too much light. You know, but your nitrate and phosphates being 0 is not good for your tank. I'm telling you that now. Lots of people with these tanks that are 0, end up dealing with dinoflagellates, and then that's a big, huge struggle. So I try to get your phosphates up a little bit and try and get your nitrates up a little bit. So like 0.03, 0.05 phosphate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nitrate would be good. Doesn't have to be high, just should not be absolute 0. Have you seen a saltwater tank with tile on the bottom instead of bare bottom or sand? I've seen some nutty stuff over the years. One of the things that people were doing a long time ago was something called starboard, which is basically cutting board material. And they put that on the bottom of the tank, but you know what? It floats. So they had to weigh it down before they could put all the rock on there. And they tried silicone and ways to keep it down. I've also seen where people have poured in like, well, it was resin, but I think they had sand first and then resin, or they mixed sand in the resin and basically glued this fake sand bed down just as one to look at. There's always the risk that something like that in your tank can expand and push the tank apart. So always make sure there's a rim of no contact. Ceramic tile might be okay if there's nothing weird in it, you know, that it's true ceramic and there's no metals in it, because that could affect your tank. You know, I see people using tiles to glue corals onto, but you want to make sure they're the right material. Chris says, with 2 pairs of clowns, I'll be adding 2 anemones on opposite sides of the tank. Will that help with clownfish aggression, or is it just going to make them more territorial? Well, actually, a couple things can happen. The anemones might go exactly where you want them and stay there forever, which would be amazing. Or they may wander around everywhere and end up being side by side. There's that chance. That's the number one thing. You're always going to have a dominant pair of clownfish. So that's why I use the skunks in my tank, these guys right here, which there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. See, they're all together in this tank, in this anemone, because, you know what, I didn't try this yet. I was thinking about this today. What happens if I put this on here? I'm going to look the wrong color, but kind of filters out the blue. Okay, I have a beautiful tan, but you can kind of see the anemone a little bit better, and you can see some of the skunks, and there's an anthias right there in the front, in the copper band. Anyway, I'm sure that the quality is crap on the live stream. But the skunk clownfish are harem fish, which means you can have a lot of them, all in the same tank, and for the most part, they get along. You're going to see some squabbling because they do. But for the most part, everyone's in the same system. They've been together in this tank for 3.5 years now. And in my anemone cube, I have all the same clowns from one tank breeder, one clown breeder, and I got them all at once. They're all 6 months old. They're all about 1 inch long, and we put all of them in at once. It wasn't like a couple of snowflake, a couple of puzzle, a couple of bullet hole, a couple of this, a couple of that, where you have all these different ones. That doesn't work long term. That looks really cool and lasts for, you know, a few minutes, so to speak. But long term, no, that doesn't end up working out. So if you can get all of them at once into your, you know, from one breeder into your tank, you'll get a few years out of them before they get aggressive. And I've had, even from the single family, I've rescued 4 or 5 from that tank that were being picked on by the bigger, bullier ones, and I moved them to my frag tank. And then in the frag tank, they were picking on one and they were trying to eat it, and I put it down here in my refugium, and it's been living down there by itself with a bunch of anemones because I felt bad for it. And now it's a fat little guy, but I don't know where to put it. You know, I don't think I can put it in any of the tanks. So can you put, and Tammy's got an 800-gallon reef, and yet she had all these pairs in the tank, and that didn't work either for her. And she's great with fish, and she's a heavy feeder, and she ended up coming down to basically having a pair and an 800-gallon reef. So you can try it, but odds are not in your favor. All right. Nanofish says, any reason alk would be low and calcium not change? Calcium doesn't move as much as alkalinity. Alkalinity can drop in a day. And so it comes down to how you dose. Like in my situation, I'm using a calcium reactor. That's dosing alkaline and calcium with every drop of water that goes into my reef. And so those numbers kind of are together. But depending on how much I melt the media down determines how much alkalinity is in my tank. My calcium tends to stay about there all the same time. It looks like Waquar asked, what is the best size tank for a beginner? It comes down to how much space you have. If you really have very little space, you might just want 30 gallons or 40 gallons. That might be all you can be allowed space-wise. It could be your landlord won't let you have anything over a certain size. For me, I like tanks that are a little bit bigger. I would like a 90 gallon or 120 gallon because that's like a 4-foot tank that's either 18 inches or 24 inches deep. So it gives you some front to back room to plant things and enjoy the view. So I like that for a size tank. It's not horribly expensive. You're not going to need a lot of gear, but you'll have some space for things to grow and you can really play in that. So I kind of like that size if you can manage it, if you have the room. Should you add fish or coral first to a new tank? Are there some other animals you recommend adding to a new tank first? Actually, someone asked me a few live streams ago, or a couple live streams ago, for me to do a timeline where I say, do this, 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 this. And when it comes to the tank, you want to get it cycled, and then you want to introduce some kind of a fish. And after the cycle is done, you can add some corals. I would not go crazy and just stock the tank. I wouldn't go out and get 40 corals. Basically what you're going to do is you're getting a fish in there to make sure it does well. The fish will be pooping and eating, and that builds the bacterial load in the tank to handle that much waste. And then you add more stuff, and it builds to this much waste, and then it keeps growing, right? Because it's more and more livestock is in there, and the bacteria has to keep up with it to consume the waste as it occurs, and that keeps it from cycling, from turning into another tank full of ammonia all over again. But most people like to be cautious, and they want to just add a few corals and see how they do before they spend more money. And that's smart, rather than saying, oh, I'm going to go to a show and buy 40 corals and come home and plant them all. I mean, that's impulsive, and it could work out, but you might end up losing stuff. I mean, of all the corals we planted, one died within a couple of days in my tank, and I don't know why. It was a beautiful favia, and I was really excited about it, and we put it in a great spot, and then when I looked at it yesterday, there was a speck of skin left on the skeleton, but I have a feeling by today it's gone. If anything, a bristleworm ate it. Claudia says, how's the Tammy video working? Actually, I was thinking last night, I should just sit at my computer and get that Tammy video done. But instead, I decided to do nothing last night and just relax. And try not to feel guilty that I was doing nothing. Because I have been going nonstop. And I definitely want that one off my hard drive. She's actually coming up on her anniversary. I think this month will be 5 years. This month or next month. And this video is finally rolling out. She's been working really hard on her tank. And she recently ran into a situation with her kalkwasser not keeping up properly. And I told her to call Dwayne, because Dwayne knows kalkwasser and I don't. So he got her sorted out, which is good news. Let's see. By the way, I wanted to mention you guys, I need some feedback. Okay, so you're still in this live stream. How many people are on here still? Okay, we've got 165 people watching. I don't expect 165 answers, but if you do, that would be great. My phone continues to fill up with more and more and more data. I'm constantly taking pictures and shooting video, but that doesn't always translate onto YouTube, obviously, because you're only getting the little bits I share. And I always have these thoughts, oh, I'm going to do this, oh, I'm going to do that, and then do I ever get around to it? So here's what I want to know, because I have these things that are like short topics. And it seems logical to upload a short topic video, but YouTube does not promote it. Like if I do a topic about Live Rock Enhance, and let's say it's 3-4 minutes long, no one watches it. But if I upload an hour-and-a-half video, 7,000 people watch it. And I don't care about that part. What I care about is, or what I want to know, is should I take the multi-topics and build them all into one full-length video so that way it gets the traffic? Or do you prefer that you can get the one tiny topic in a short video, so you watch it and you're done? Because I can do something in the description to say go to 3 minutes for this one, go to 8 minutes for this one, go to 14 minutes for this one. I could do that to help people jump, like bookmarks. But I had a thing where I wanted to show you how I dose something, and it's a quick video. And then I did the Live Rock Enhance, that would be a quick one. And then I added pods to my refugium. I thought, that's a quick one. And I was thinking maybe I should just paste them all together into something big enough that YouTube will actually push it out there to the subscribers. Because I did the Bonaire fundraiser, and it was 1,800 views out of 50,000 subscribers. And then I did the Bonaire preview video, where I showed some of the dives and some cool moments I really enjoyed, which was not easy to upload from Bonaire. And again, the audience was maybe 2,000 views, if that. I don't think it was even that many. And yet it was literally reefs, in the ocean. You'd think someone watching this channel would definitely want to see that. So I want to know what you would like me to do with that kind of stuff, because I really would like to release a lot of those little snippets or tidbits that could be helpful for you. I just don't know how to release them properly. So let me know what you guys think. Since it's Saturday, I'm going to tell you guys it's Water Test Saturday. Do not forget to test your water. We want to test everything. We want to use new kits, not old ancient ones that are still working, that are 2 years old. You want to replace those. And I'll show you guys this one more time. So right now this is not, this is not happening. It's not running. Mine will start running in 3.5 hours, or 2.5 hours. But the Trident, here's a side view. Give you that. You can see it right there. It's gray. Oh, and look, there's a new thing down there too I didn't get to tell you guys about. But one person was teasing me saying, hey, Mark, now you're going to be telling people on Saturdays that they need to make sure they check their Trident reagents to make sure they're full. So funny. We want to test our tanks. We want to maintain stability. If you do not test and you think, oh, everything's fine, and then things start falling apart later on because you didn't check, it's better to catch it today and make a tiny little tweak than having to make a big adjustment or a massive water change or deal with a huge issue like dinos taking over your reef because you ignored it. So do test your water. Type up those results, share them somewhere. I always say share them on social media. So share them with your friends on Instagram, share them with your friends on Facebook, share them in Club Milo's Reef. But and ask questions if you have questions. So now that I've done that, I'm not done with this chat. We're still going to go a little bit longer. I want to show you something I did. The problem is the wire is a little short. So we're just going to use this one camera for right now. I'm going to switch you guys to this one. I wanted to show you what Dwayne did as soon as he arrived. So I'm switching to this camera down here, and I'm going to tilt this down a little bit lower. And if you'll look at my refugium right now, it looks kind of shallow right through here. And the reason for that is because we installed that white valve over there that is tied to one of my 4 drains that comes down from the reef tank. I've had 3 drains go into the skimmer section and 1 drain to my refugium for 5 years, 5.5 years. And what happened is he said, I want to make your tank quieter. And he did this fantastic thing. He made me order some valves, which I did. And so there's one right here, like I said, that's installed. And I've got just enough wire to show you this. And by just turning the knob, what we've done is we've created this pipe that's full of water, and all that's coming out is clean water with no bubbles, which is awesome because number one, no more salt creep all over this light and all over this acrylic. And I'm getting all this nice flow in here without any bubbles whatsoever. This is some new algae that I picked up while I was at Aqua Shella, and I think it's called Graciolera. This right here is feather caulerpa. People always ask me, what kind of algae is that? And then way over here, since we're in the refugium, I'll show you my little anemones. And there's my little clownfish right here. He's right there. Get my hand out of there so you won't be so timid. And that was the clown that was dying. Someone was actually eating it. And it was in their mouth, and I pulled it out of their mouth to rescue this little guy. So he's been down there, and I gave him a few anemones, and now there's like 6 anemones living down there. It's kind of funny. But also, which you cannot see very well, I don't think. I'm holding it so it's kind of shaky. Right there is the other valve with a red handle. And that is my secondary valve, or my main drain from the overflow box into my sump. And it's dumping into a filter sock. Like I said, the wire's too short for me to stretch this any further. I would knock over the computer, but you can kind of see the water in the skimmer section moving. There's no bubbles down there either. And my overflow box is now full to the top, and there's no more Dursos in there. Now what they've got is standpipes, 2 short ones and 2 tall ones. The 2 tall ones are basically my emergency pipes. So I'll have to do a video that explains it all so you guys can see it. But I just wanted to show you that because I thought that's kind of a cool thing. I've been really stubborn about not wanting to change my Dursos, and he blew me away. So this drain system that we installed is called Herbie, and the Herbie method uses the pipe with a valve to adjust it. It's not a bean animal, but the bean has, a siphon, a full siphon, a valve, and an emergency. The bean has this controlled drain with another emergency pipe, and I have two emergency pipes. And so what we did was we took my return pump and we put it at 100%, and with the new drain system, and the tank kept up with no problem. So that was great news. But now when it's running, it's dead silent. I can actually go in there and film and not have that weird hum going on that you always get in the background of fish tank videos, which I'm really happy about. And now I keep making things more and more quiet. Now I want to replace the pump on my poly tank, that big white thing behind me that holds all the salt water. And I'm thinking about putting a Vectra pump on there to keep that water circulating that's dead silent and uses what, like 23 watts of power? Or maybe a little bit higher, maybe it's 36, I don't know. But it's just a small amount, and make that thing quiet. And then at some point, make the anemone cube and the frag tank quiet, and then I'll be complaining that the Comore XLT is too loud and clicky. The more quiet you make things, the more you hear the sounds. And that is just kind of the insanity of this hobby. In the past, we complained our skimmer is so loud. God, if I could just turn off that skimmer, I'd be happy. And then it was like the vortex came out. Oh, they're very quiet. And then years later, the quiet drive came out to make them even quieter. And now they are dead silent. It's amazing. And yeah, we keep switching to things that are quieter and quieter. And there's some people that have tanks that are just silent. And if you hear any kind of sound at all, you're like, what's going on? So we're kind of spoiled in that regard. Okay, I'm going to read some of your comments because I want to see what you guys said. And I know people are going to comment to this video later on when they're watching it afterwards. Somebody says it's nearly midnight there, so Sunday is test day. Fair enough. I keep forgetting international crowds. One person suggests you use lots of popular tag things in the title for the short videos. Okay. I think the YouTube algorithm will adapt to your video style. You'll get more views if you ask for more likes on videos. Oh, yeah, I never do that. Good call. I used to do that. I got tired of doing it. Let's see. Somebody asked, where did you find those valves? The white one from a friend. I was at his house, and I was like, I need that, and he gave it to me. And then the bigger gray ones I got on Amazon. And Dwayne says, I'm going to do that plumbing when we show up. And he called me on Wednesday. I typed into Amazon, I need these gate valves. They're 1.5 inches. And I think they were $30 each. And I bought 2, and then we only needed 1. Oh, that's another thing I could tell you guys about. Okay, another story. See, this live stream will never end. So much to catch you up on in 3 weeks. I had a customer contact me recently through the phone. And he says, Mark, I was waiting for you to come back from Bonaire. My sump sprung a leak and my whole house got flooded. I need a new sump. And I said, what size tank is it going under? And he said, a 300-gallon. And then I said, well, I could make you the deal of the century, or I can sell you a new sump, whatever you want to do. And he said, well, what do you got in mind? I said, well, the sump under my tank is 9 years old. I did not lie. I did not try to misrepresent this. So it's 9 years old, but it's perfect. I said, and if you want to buy that sump, I'll sell you that sump under my tank right now for $450. And I said, because that's the money I need to buy new acrylic to build myself a new sump. And I wanted to make a new one because I use different, I glue differently these days. I cut on a CNC machine. Kind of want to make something fancy and different and kind of change it up a little bit. And I said, so if you want this one, we'll pull it out. I'll clean it up. I'll make sure everything's good and intact. I'm not worried. And I'll even give you some extra, weld on to take with you in case you come across anything that concerns you. Or I can sell you a new one for $1,500. And he was like, $450 sounds great. So he says, I'll see you tomorrow. And the reason he came the next day was because he wanted to borrow my 100-gallon Rubbermaid trough because he was going out of town like in 2 days and was going to be gone for a week on a cruise and needed something under his tank immediately. So he drove all the way here from Commerce, Texas, which is 2 hours away, got the trough, bought himself a Vectra pump, bought himself some other stuff from my shop, and looked at this sump. I mean, he got a good look at it to make sure, that it was okay with him. And he's like, no, that looks great. I love it. I can't wait. It fits. It's fantastic. And so this month, I have to build my new sump and get this one out and put the new one in so he can have one for his tank because he's using a trough right now to get by. And So that allows me to change how the drains go into my tank. And the reason this whole topic came up was because Dwayne told me order 2 of those gate valves and I only used 1. So technically, even if I had to cut out my brand new plumbing we just did for the new sump system, I have another brand new gate valve I can use. And I can do the exact same method of how the water goes in. And I love that it goes in quiet and there's no weird noises and there's no bubbles. And, you know, there's been so many new things this year. I keep relisting them. I got a new truck, I got a new computer, I got a new tooth, I got the new Apex, I got the new Trident, I got the new alarm system, got the new fiber internet connection. I mean, there's more. Those are just a few things that come off the top of my head. So much has gone on. Plus, I did a Bonaire trip that was totally unexpected, and we did the fundraiser that doubled the success rate of what I thought. There's been a lot of new things this year, and I kind of want to just have like a normal routine again. It's been a little crazy, and it's kind of amazing I'm able to get all these things done. And I do appreciate all the help I get from friends and even from you guys when you give me feedback or suggestions or ask questions, because it makes me rethink things to make sure I'm making good choices. All right. I think, oh, Todd just says that he's getting a shipment in Toronto next week. Yeah, I shipped some stuff through the post office. It takes a little bit longer to get there. How close, in my opinion, is the Trident to its release date? Weeks is my guess, but could be longer. I don't know. I have no clue. I don't even ask. And a lot of people are like, oh, I want it, and I'm tired of waiting. And I'm thinking, well, why don't you let people like me kind of make sure it's working okay before you buy it? That way you'll be happy. And that way if we come across something odd, we can, you know, kind of let them know so they can make the slight corrections or update firmware or whatever they got to do that makes the thing work perfectly, so that way when you get it, you'll be happy. James asked, have you ever thought about doing the overflow to the filter socks like MRC does? I don't run filter socks, but yeah, I'm thinking about the upwelling thing. I'm tempted to do that into my sump. I think that might be kind of cool. And it might work perfectly with this crazy system I just hooked up. But what I can do with a new sump is I can make the refugium bigger and shrink down the backside. It doesn't have to be quite as large back there. And then I could have the drains come straight down the tank and turn into the end of the sump instead of coming down and into the sump like I've been doing. I think it'd be a cleaner look overall. And if it went straight down and in, through the wall and in, and then came up to the water level, that would be the upwelling, and then you have a skimmer sitting there, I think that'd be kind of neat. And then the refugium, it'll just come in and go straight in, just like you're seeing now, but through the side of the tank. It'll be, again, a really clean look. I think it'll work. So I'm kind of excited about that. I also want to make a spot permanently on the top of the sump somehow where the Trident can sit and be supported and be above waterline so it can't get flooded by any kind of crazy accident. I want to incorporate an area on the top of the sump where fans fit permanently instead of having to make a bracket that you have to either put in place or glue. I want to put a spot in the sump that holds tubing exactly where I want it, because that's always kind of like a weird thing that's just dangling in there. I never find a happy spot because I don't want to just go in the sump. I want it to go like into the area right over the return pump. I almost want something like a tray mounted on the plumbing coming down, so as it's dripping in, it's dripping and going to the return pump and straight up to the tank. You know, stuff like that. These are all the kind of ideas that are in my head that I'd like to accomplish. And I want all my edges to be super round and not sharp like they were back in 2010. You know, that kind of stuff. So that is going to happen. And this might be the time I should consider removing the top-off container and putting in a new one that's a few inches shorter. I can actually get into it to clean it. Because this is I've had this same one down here. Switch cameras for you. I've had the same one here for 9 years. And as you can see, it's still crystal clean. I mean, I assume that's nice and sharp. I hope it's sharp. And I mean, there's no room to get your arm in the top. See that? I mean, it is that tight to the rail. So now's my chance to remove this thing and maybe get one that's 3 inches shorter. Or maybe take it out and cut off 3 inches and glue a new top on it. Just make my life simple instead of having to build a whole new one. But this one, again, is 9 years old. So that's kind of a thought I have. Let's get out of my way. My coffee is ice cold now. Someone, by the way, said in a comment recently, take some of my donation and buy yourself some good coffee. Every dollar that came in went to Bonaire. None of that went to me, not $1. Matter of fact, one guy gave a really big, generous donation. And while I was down in Bonaire at the dive site, where we did the donation, I bought him a shirt as a thank you and mailed it to him. I bought the shirt, I paid the postage, I didn't use any of the money from the donation to do it. I actually used my own money to thank him for giving money to Bonaire. And I thought, boy, that really sounds like me, doesn't it? If I was smart, I would have said, let me take 30 bucks out of that, or 40, whatever it was, and have the money to buy him a shirt and pay $8 shipping. But no, I wouldn't use any of that money, and that money's gone. I mean, when you say take it now, it's like, that's long gone. That thing, I collected it, PayPal took their little piece out, whatever, they made like $187 in fees, and every other dollar went straight to Bonaire. Oh, this is new. I mentioned on Instagram, this is the new Polyp Labs flashlight. Looks like a, what do you call it, tactical light. It's very blue, and see, it looks like my tank. It's blue. And you can actually change the focus of it to make it where it, let's see if I can show you something, like up here. Can you see it there? So you can see the actual LED chip. And it's a very small spread of light. You can change it. And it will also flash, which I don't know why you'd ever want it to flash. But you can use this to look at your corals at night and get a nice glow. And it uses a single AAA battery, which is nice. So this came out. What else? Oh, and see, so many things. I added the Echo Dot to my system last night and got that connected with Apex to now I can actually tell Apex to tell me status reports, or what I really wanted was to activate a couple of my big buttons. I have the big yellow button and I have the white button. I wanted a way to use my voice to tell it to activate those things. And so I created a phrase that will now make my XHOs turn on for 10 extra minutes. And I can then, even if I'm done, I want them off, I can actually tell Alexa to reset them back to the normal. She's listening. But yeah, that's kind of a neat thing. And I'm hoping to add a few more features or commands. But that was brand new. I was doing that last night. And see, I told you, it's just, I keep doing new things this year. It's crazy. Cheap Folgers is not the best. No, actually, I'm a Starbucks guy. And I get a giant bag of it at Costco. And I grind my beans every single morning for a fresh cup of coffee. I'm pretty happy with that. 00Mass00 says, it would be awesome to see you build a video for an acrylic tank. All that experience you have, I want to learn. There's a reason why you don't see a lot of videos of me showing how to build things out of acrylic. It's because it's what I do for a living. And I already feel like I give a ton of information out. But if I give away that last piece, I don't know. It could go both ways. It could be, you're like, wow, that's so much work, I never want to do it, and you'll hire me to do it. Or I've literally told you how to do my business, and I've made you my competitor. So that's kind of a fine line. I have a lot of information on my website. If you go to the articles section and go to acrylics, I show all the tools I use, or used to use, and all the glue methods and examples, and there's a lot of documentation on there, rather than a tutorial video of how to work with acrylic, because, like I said, it's how I make my money. Has anyone tried the Polyp Lab orange filter clip for phone photography? Actually, I just talked about that earlier. You just didn't hear it on the stream. This is the kit, and this is their latest lens, which has other ones inside it, including a polarizing filter, an orange filter, and it's a yellow filter. And yes, it is worth every dollar. I love it. I use it for all my pictures. So definitely a great purchase. I actually sell it on my website if you want to get one. Let's see. You got this shirt at this Aquashella last weekend. I got this one at the Aquashella last year in Chicago, and I've worn it on the stream a few times. The reason I wear it so much, I mean, yeah, I like the shirt, but I love the fabric. I'm very picky about shirts, and so I wear this a lot. And they're like, "Man, we always see you wearing that shirt." I'm like, "Yeah, because it feels great." And I have a jar of their moonshine in my fridge right now that I got at this Aquashella. Let's see. Have you had found any benefit in using mangroves as part of filtration? You have to use a lot of mangroves to benefit yourself filtration-wise. The mangroves are not really, they're not fast growers, and it takes a lot of them to do something productive. Having 2 or 3 sticking out of your refugium, you're probably not going to have any luck. But if you had a tank with like 50 mangroves planted in a big deep sand bed and water flowing through one side and out the other, sort of like a refugium, but it's more like a planted tank, literally, you might see some really good benefits, but it's going to take time. And I just don't feel that a a mangrove can do the same work that a refugium does full of macroalgae. And then you got people out there that swear by the turf scrubbers. They say those are better than refugiums, which I don't know if that's true. I kind of think that the macroalgae we grow grows really fast, and you can peel it off and let it grow in with more. And that's a great nutrient export method. Plus, it's pretty to look at, and it's a place for all your pods to live and breed. But if you wanted to plant a whole bunch of mangroves for fun and create this really cool half water, half air biotope, yeah, you should do it. I think you might enjoy it. And there's some tricks to keeping it alive, the mangroves. One of the number one rules is you have to mist them with water every day to rinse the leaves, because the plant is absorbing water out of the salt water, and I think the salt crystals end up on the leaves, and so you have to rinse them so that the plant stays clean and can breathe, so to speak, and do its plantly ways. All right. Scott asked, how's the fiber connection? Well, I checked it this morning. We had a huge storm roll through, and my internet was a little bit slower. I should check it real quick. I should check it while we're on the stream. Because now we're sending stuff through the wires, right? I'm curious how it does when we're busy sending to YouTube at the same time. So I'm just going to use speed test here. So the download speed right now is right at 910 megs, or megabits. I don't want to get in that big debate. It's not a megabyte. And the upload speed is about to start. So 935 was my down. What if I can share this with you guys? And there's my up. $9.36. Isn't that crazy? And look, you can get some 5-star recipes. But yeah, so no, the fiber's awesome. I love that speed. That's fantastic. And I am looking forward to editing videos and getting them uploaded. And now will be my chance to do that kind of stuff. Okay. Have you ever tried to run a macro algae tank? Well, I mean, that's... Oh, you mean like a display tank that only is filled with macroalgae? I know a lady that's done that, and it's beautiful. And she had like all the different kind of plants, all the different colors and shapes and textures. You can get a lot of really cool macroalgae from Florida, and you can really do some amazing... you can make a really nice environment. And I could totally see that filled up with pipefish and seahorses. And guess what I saw in Bonaire? My brain is like on 19 topics. I saw a flame scallop deep down inside the rockwork because of my amazing lights when I was doing my night dive. And that was really neat to come across. Something we see. I like to look for things we keep in our aquariums. And also another thing that I saw massive colonies of that we don't get, and I have no idea why, was yellow Pasillipora. There was a whole bunch of it, and I'm like, what is this coral? And I asked Bob, I took out my phone and said, look here, what is this? He goes, that's Pasillipora. I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, it's yellow. He says, yeah, the trade would love that. And I was just like, yeah, I've never heard of yellow Pasillipora. I've seen metallic blue. There's been a green. There's a hot pink. There's brown. But I've never seen yellow. And it was massive fields of this yellow. So that was really neat. Let's see. Can SPS die if it's not fully engulfed in light? One of mine doesn't get any light on one side, and because of its being shaded, or it shades itself. Yeah, that's a trick. You're going to probably need to plant that coral in a better spot so that it's healthy. I mean, like this right here, this big colony. I should really put this thing on here again. Let me see if I can drop this on here somehow. Like this. Okay, don't look at me. Look at the corals. So this one right here, this pink Acropora, it has, actually, if I could do this instead, that's dumb. Let's change the other camera. Let's use this one. And we'll maybe do this up here, so we're closer. And, oh, turn the wrong knob, just a second here. Let me get myself a little bit. Let me move my cup of coffee. You guys always, oh, and no one noticed. I have another thing to mention to you guys, but no one mentioned it yet. So this colony right here is, it's not very red on there. You know what? No, we have to use this. You have no choice. Got to use this. This acropore colony, it's reddish. I know it doesn't look like it, but it is. It's very red, especially at night. The underside is still got all of its color, even though it's basically all in its own shade. So corals do shade themselves, but sometimes you are going to need to turn around and you're going to have to actually relocate something. Like for example, I recently took my Walt Disney acro that was in a spot that just wasn't getting enough light, and I put it in a new spot that I thought was better, but I'm looking at the area and it's still kind of dim. It's not great. So I'm probably going to buy some Tonga branch to jam some kind of rock out of my rock work to a higher peak point and put the Walt Disney on top so it can be more vivid. Because what happens is, like you said, if they get shaded, they don't get the light, and that side can die off, or it can get really pale, it can bleach out. So there's no absolute guarantees you can get all of your coral lit from all sides, but that's why we use supplemental lighting, or we have multiple lights instead of a single point. So that way, if you have a single point coming down on the reef, you might need a thing here and a thing on this side, or front and back, to kind of fill in. And using sand on the bottom of your tank is important too, because the light will then bounce off the sand and hit the underside of the corals to help them thrive. So that was a long answer to a very simple question. I apologize for that. DX BabyTube asks, how is the ban on aquarium fish by various countries affecting the LFS in my area? I haven't seen anything that made me even realize there was a ban. I keep hearing people talk about bans, but you know, I haven't seen like the mad dash to go buy the last hippo, or the mad dash to get all the hammers because you'll never get hammers again, or something like that. But I'm sure certain things are not coming in now that we used to get, but it hasn't trickled down to us yet. We haven't been, you know, really suffered. And a lot of the corals we get these days are being aquacultured. They're being grown in greenhouses or in garages, and in reef tanks, of course. And those are being shared amongst each other. So we're not really hurting in that regard when it comes to livestock. And when you go to Aquashella and you see all the vivid corals, you're like, wow, I mean, yeah, you might have to pay an insane price for a yellow torch, but it's not like you can't get it. It exists. And I think some of that's also, we create a price. Like, for example, they say it's really expensive. If none of us bought it, they'd lower the price. But when there's always that one guy that says, no problem, here's my American Express Black Card, and it happens, kind of keeps the sellers thinking we can get away with that, and they charge a lot. And, you know, I try to buy reasonable corals. I don't like to spend a lot on things in my tank. And, you know, I got to stay within my means, right? You know, I don't want to be massively in debt. I went a little crazy because of those orange glasses at Aqua Shella, but I did not, you know, like spend a paycheck on corals either. You know, I got what I felt was okay. I asked them, how much is it? And I decided, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take that. And then I went to like 6 vendors at the end of the show and got all my stuff from all those people. And that was really exciting to come home and plant in the tank. Any good LED strips you recommend that are controllable for extra light? Actually, there's something new that came out. The XHO lighting that I use in my tank, the blue LEDs that make it glow so nicely. Those are great supplemental lighting. I actually use them on my tank all day long, and then the metal halides turn off and they still glow for a couple of hours. And they just came out with a controller, and it's on its way to me now. And I know it's standalone, but I believe there's the ability to tie it into like the Apex to do more. But it has its own app. So you can actually, that's the beauty. All these things that are coming out have apps. So you can open up an app to talk to your Apex. You can open up an app to talk to your Camor pump. You can open up an app to talk to your AI Light or your AI Nero 5 pump. Now you've got Reef Bright has come out with an app to talk to their lights. So you have all those abilities, and those strips, they're not crazy. I mean, they're expensive, but they're not crazy expensive, and you can control them that way. And then back to that question, you talked about price and availability. I haven't, like I said, I'm not a big shopper because my tank is full. I mean, from time to time I want something and I like, how much is it? That's kind of how I don't join selling groups, and I don't walk into stores and hammer them with questions about what things cost, because usually I'm just there for the 1 or 2 things I need, like more fish food, a fresh test kit, a cleaning magnet, you know, a thermometer, whatever it is I'm buying. And I'm just not super aware of pricing. Sorry, that's just the honest truth, because I'm not doing that, and I don't deal with selling livestock, so I don't really care about any of that stuff. Have you ever seen anyone with a successful long-term octopus tank? More specifically, a mimic octopus tank. No, actually, I don't know anyone that's long-term. I believe, and I don't know that species specifically, but octopus don't live very long. I believe 2 to 3 years max is how long an octopus lives. And I do know you need it to be a sealed tank. The temperature has to be the right temperature. It tends to be a species-only tank. Like you said, an octopus tank, and everything you put in there becomes food. Whether it's a fish or a snail or a crab, the octopus eats it. You're feeding it live animals. So, no, I don't know anyone specifically that has one. Only public aquariums where I get to visit them, but I don't know any specific hobbyist that has one and has done it. Would you ever try your tidal wave themed tank again? Oh, are you mixing me up with someone else? I had an angled tank on the front. Tidal wave doesn't ring a bell. And then detritus tips. All right, Brown Ever, what's the best cleanup crew? Is the detritus on your glass, like the bottom of your tank? Is it down in the sump? Or are we talking about just laying on top of the surface of the sand? Because once I know that, I can give you an answer. But any type of detritus, we want to, from time to time, siphon it out, one way or another. And now we really do need to wrap this up. We've been going for 2 hours. That's too long. It's too long. I do want to tell you guys, or warn you, that the join button is going to appear on YouTube very soon. I was approved for it a while back. I didn't turn it on. I didn't really have a reason to turn it on. But join will be, it's sort of like a membership to the channel. And you get, some extra features that people that don't join don't, But I don't want to use it that way. I'm not looking to create like this niche group or this, I just want to add it, okay? And so when you are a member of it, and I think it's like $5 a month, then you'll get the ability to have special badges on your name and special emojis you can use. But what I want to do with that money coming in, because people have been asking me repeatedly, and I had this master plan a year ago, and my schedule was so loaded up, I didn't get to do it. Everyone asked me to do a podcast, and I thought, yeah, that would be, I'd like to resume that. I'd like to do that. I think it'd be super handy at times. But in the meantime, a lot of people said, look, can you just take the live stream and make that a podcast? And I thought, yeah, I can, but then I got to pay for a hosting website, and I got to upload these files there so that they can disseminate through the various devices, whether it's Android or iOS. And so the money that's going to come in from the join buttons is going to help pay for that podcast feature that's going to be coming out soon. So I'm hoping that some of you will think that's worth having, and you'll think it's good. And yeah, I'm just going to put it up there. I've talked to some other YouTubers about it, and they've talked about how it helped them. And YouTube does not allow you to just ask for a flat-out donation. I can't just say, hey, can you send me money for this? That's not what that system is. And with the join system or the membership, the way it's designed, everyone gets the same thing. It can't be like, for example, you can't do a contest and say, okay, if 100 of you join, one of you will get a skimmer. You can't do that. If 100 of you join, 100 of you get a skimmer is the idea. You know what I mean? It can't be something to just one person or a small percentage. It has to be equally across everyone. So that button will be appearing here soon. I'm just giving you the heads up so you're like, what the hell is that thing? It's new, and you don't have to do it. If you want to, it's appreciated. All the money just keeps going to keep doing what I'm doing. And, it's just keeping up with the technology. That's all I'm doing. So hopefully that'll work. Let's see. Oh, guess what? I bought it, and you mentioned Jason Fox. Well, let me read this question first real quick. He mentions that he runs all his tanks bare bottom because it's easier to siphon out the detritus and when doing water changes. I went to his booth at Aqua Shella, and I bought my first Jason Fox coral from Jason Fox. So over here on this side of my tank, there is an actual very hairy pink acro that I got from him, and that thing is crazy fuzzy. I have no idea what it's going to turn into, but I was like, I'll take that. So I have my very first Jason Fox coral. As you guys know, I tend to not try to buy name brands necessarily. We just had someone join. I guess they thought the stream started just now. Little do they know, they've missed 1 hour and 57 minutes. Welcome, American Reefing. You belong here. You should have been here sooner. I'm totally messing with you. Let's see. We've covered it all, guys. No, seriously, I hate to just hang up on someone that says they just joined, but at the same time, we have covered our entire topics, and I've got you all caught up. So next Saturday, I'm going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, all Saturday. That means there's no live stream again because I'll be gone. And I'm leaving Friday, so I can't even like do it Friday night. It's just not going to happen. Maybe I'll drop a video at the 2 o'clock hour, and that way you guys have something to watch instead since I won't be on here. But other than that, I think we'll just wrap this up. Please do test your water today. Don't just say I'll do it and then don't do it. Do it. Just actually do it. And I have to test mine. I have to test, my frag tank right now is full of crap. We took out so much stuff out of this tank, it's full of corals. I have to really test it and adjust all my dosing pumps to keep up with the demand because I took all the fungi. Oh, that's another thing I didn't tell you guys about. So down here, we'll grab this camera again. And we'll switch to this one. See, I told you there's so much to catch you up on. So down here, I have these button polyps. These are sand polyps or true Palithoa. And these things are the ones that kill people. These are the absolute killer. Palitoxin will murder you, okay? They're horrible. And this whole area is just filled with them all the way across, just massive amounts. And I took them all out and threw them away except for these. These are actually on that rock, and I've got to remove this rock, which means I have to break my maze right here. Unfortunately, we grew onto the next rock, and scrape these off. And my plan, because I always like to teach you guys stuff, is to take this thing outside where I am face protection and scrape these off where I'm in a lot of fresh air, and then bring the rock back in without any of these on here, and then push it against that one to helpfully let it heal in that connection. So this beautiful maze I've had for so long can start recovering, because this is just murdering as it grows up. It's unfortunate. And there's still more of these things floating around, so don't feel like they're going to be completely gone. But I've had this specific coral in my tank since 2002, and it's just time to go. It's just not beautiful. It's all right. It's just, you know, it's got to go. There's some little polyps there, and there's a whole buttload of them under that anemone on the backside. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this from here and kind of clean this up. We also cut out half of the Gorgonian because my view from the end of the tank this direction was being so blocked I couldn't see my reef. So a bunch of that went to Seattle with Dwayne, and it can regrow. So there's that. See? All right, what else did I forget to tell you? Remind me what I forgot to tell you. Yeah, I'll be careful. And if you don't hear from me again, you'll know what happened. It was the last thing he told us he was going to touch those. But no, I've been around them forever, and I've never had a problem. But at the same time, you got to be really, really careful around things with Palithoa because palitoxin's real, and it can get you. It can get you right through your skin. It can get in your eye. It can get in your mouth. It can get in your bloodstream. It can make you feel like you have the flu. The hospital has no idea what to do with you. It's bad. So I'm not going to turn into Dexter and like save it for some good purpose. I know better. But yeah, I'm going to clean it out. And that will, again, create some more negative space in here so that the tank looks cleaner. Because I had stuff all over the sand bed just hiding it. And it allowed me to put this big tongue coral in the front that you guys never see. That's been in the back of my tank forever. And this thing is very big. I had a bowl that you could put salad in, you know, not like a salad bowl, but like a bowl of salad. And that coral stuck out the end. It was so long. So that's a really cool one. Yeah, don't worry. There'll still be one or two of those Palithoa floating around. Like I said, they're underneath the anemone, completely in darkness, but there's probably 100 under there. So it's not the end of them. It's just going to be the end of them in the front. So I'm going to end the stream now. Thank you guys for tuning in. Wow, 140 of you survived this to the end. Good job. If you're, like I said, if you're near Tulsa, Oklahoma, come to the Tornado Alley Reef Expo or Frag Swap, whatever they called it. Just look up Tornado Alley Reef Keeping and you'll find it. And I'll get a link added to this video's description later so you guys can jump on, you know, hit the click and get right to it. And follow me on Facebook because that's where you can get the daily updates, especially on the Milla's Reef page. That would be this link right here. So facebook.com/Milla's Reef is where I put all my posts. And then, of course, there's the group, which is Club Milla's Reef, which I've mentioned to you guys in many streams. Oh, not that one. You've seen that before. That one right there. So you're welcome to join that community and get some help. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys really soon. Bye, guys.